Singapore, the Lion City, is one of Asia's economic dragons. This island nation stands as a model for many small countries aspiring to rise. Despite its small size, Singapore is renowned for its robust economic development and modern infrastructure. With a diverse population and rich culture, Singapore is a melting pot of various ethnicities and religions. Visitors can find a wide array of cultural heritage, from traditional markets to neighborhoods with unique historical architecture, like Chinatown, Little India, and Arab Street. With its rich culture and favorable business environment, Singapore is an ideal destination for travelers seeking a blend of modernity and tradition. Yet, when we look at its current glamorous facade, it's hard to believe that this place was once extremely poor, with widespread illiteracy and even a lack of clean water. So, how did Singapore transform from a struggling nation into the economic powerhouse it is today? Let's explore this journey with the World Explainer. Before delving into the history of Singapore's development, we must understand the unique geography of this nation. Despite its small size and limited natural resources, this tiny island nation possesses something that many other countries covet: the Strait of Malacca. The Strait of Malacca is one of the most important waterways in the world. Located southwest of Malaysia and north of Indonesia, it serves as a crucial maritime route connecting the Indian Ocean with the Atlantic Ocean. Its strategic value can be compared to other vital global choke points like the Suez Canal or the Panama Canal. Historically, the Strait of Malacca has been a vital trade route since ancient times, linking Asian countries with the Western world. The flow of goods from countries like India, China, and Japan through this strait facilitated the economic and cultural development of the region. Moreover, the strategic position of the Strait of Malacca has enabled surrounding nations and kingdoms to exert control and dominance over it. In the past, controlling this strait brought significant influence to trading empires such as the Malacca Sultanate, the Portuguese Empire, the Dutch Empire, and the British Empire. Today, the Strait of Malacca continues to play a crucial role in global trade, with millions of tons of goods passing through it annually. Its importance lies not only in providing a vital maritime route, but also in shortening the transport distance between Asian ports and the rest of the world. With such a strategic and economically significant position, the Strait of Malacca has been a key factor in Singapore's development. But let's pause here and return to Singapore's history. 200 years ago, Singapore was nothing more than a forest on a remote tropical island, almost uninhabited. In the 19th century, as Britain emerged as a powerful commercial empire, it began expanding into Southeast Asia. In January 1819, an expedition landed on this small island. They were from the British East India Company, led by a determined and ambitious official. His name would forever be linked with Singapore: Sir Thomas Stamford Raffles. Raffles was a visionary, perhaps ahead of his time. While many East India Company employees around the world were primarily involved in trade or exploration, Raffles had ideas about transforming the world into a better place. He was captivated by this land and conducted archaeological research on the island to uncover evidence of its golden age in the 14th century, when it was an important island in the center of a lost Malay kingdom known as Temasek. The British explorer aimed to create a new Temasek, a new nation under British rule. However, Raffles had no legal authority to operate on a Malay island without the permission of the Malay king. But a fortunate event helped turn Raffles' vision into reality. Raffles noticed a dispute between Sultan Abdul Rahman and his brother Hussein over the throne. Sensing an opportunity, Raffles secretly brought Hussein to Singapore and proclaimed him the rightful ruler without any official mandate. Raffles cleverly exploited his knowledge of Malay history and law to maneuver through the political landscape. Essentially, he created a king for Singapore out of thin air. After establishing a legitimate ruler, Raffles organized a formal transfer of power. Hussein received a handsome stipend from the British Empire, but in return, Raffles would govern the island as he saw fit. This historic event took place on February 8, 1819, witnessed by a few dozen people, pirates, and fishermen residing on the island. By signing the treaty, Singapore ceased to be a Malay island and became a British colony under the administration of the East India Company. A piece of history shaped by the vision of one man. Nearly 200 years later, a statue of Raffles stands at the spot where he first landed. But how did one person transform this wilderness into a thriving city? Singapore sits at the crossroads of the world's busiest maritime routes. It is a city born from globalization. From the 19th century, it was fortunate to be located at the main flow of global trade. At that time, the world's largest company, headquartered in London, was the East India Company. Unlike the conglomerates we imagine today, it had its own administrative body and military, governing over 1/5 of the world's population. Essentially, it was a superpower in the modern world. The East India Company had long-standing conflicts with the Dutch Empire at sea. Determined to establish its own port on the Europe-Asia trade route via the Strait of Malacca, they chose Singapore for their grand project. According to Raffles' vision, the Singapore River would be the city's central artery, the flow of commerce. He created a main quay as the hub for surrounding commercial buildings. Throughout the 19th century, goods from all over the world were transported along this river and stored in warehouses at the main quay, just as Raffles had planned. Fast forward to World War II, Singapore was then a major Allied base in the region. Naturally, this made the island a target for the Japanese Empire. The British forces reacted weakly and were defeated by the powerful Imperial Japanese Navy. On February 15, 1942, the Allied forces in Singapore officially surrendered, allowing the Japanese to take control of the Malacca Strait. After Japan surrendered to the Allies on August 15, 1945, Singapore fell into a period of chaos. The humiliating defeat by the Japanese significantly tarnished Britain's image in the eyes of the locals. Coupled with this was a political awakening among the Singaporean populace, who began to oppose colonialism under the rallying cry of Merdeka, which means independence in Malay. This led to a series of political changes, from Singapore gaining self-governance to merging with Malaysia, and eventually separating from Malaysia due to harsh policies against the predominantly Chinese population in Singapore. Consequently, Singapore declared its independence on August 9, 1965. Post-independence, Singapore faced an uncertain future. There was the threat of military invasion by Indonesia and the possibility of being forcibly reintegrated into Malaysia under unfavorable terms. The international media was skeptical about Singapore's prospects for survival. In addition to sovereignty issues, urgent problems included unemployment, housing, education, lack of natural resources, and limited land. Fresh water had to be imported from Malaysia, and a large portion of the population was illiterate. In short, the challenges were immense. Amidst these challenges emerged a pivotal figure, Lee Kuan Yew, often regarded as the founding father of modern Singapore. A second-generation Chinese immigrant, Lee Kuan Yew returned to Singapore after studying in the UK and founded the People's Action Party, PAP, in 1954. With his exceptional leadership, he became Prime Minister in 1959. Upon taking office in 1960, Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew focused on building the economic fundamentals, encouraging savings and investment. A breakthrough in attracting foreign investment came in 1968, when Texas Instruments began producing semiconductors in Singapore. National Semiconductors soon followed, and Hewlett-Packard and General Electric established multiple manufacturing facilities there. By the 1980s, Singapore had become a major player in the global electronics export market. By 1997, nearly 200 American companies had established operations in Singapore, with a total investment of $19 billion. Domestically, Lee Kuan Yew understood that excessive democratic freedoms could lead to instability, so he implemented a single-party leadership strategy. Many at the time viewed him as a dictator, but he believed this approach was essential for maintaining internal stability. With strict laws such as punishments for minor offenses like littering, Singapore became one of the safest countries in the world. This safety and prosperity attracted immigrants from various countries, contributing to the development of many industries. The unemployment rate dropped to around 2%. Recognizing that education was crucial for economic development, Lee Kuan Yew introduced numerous educational policies, including mandatory English in schools, a sensitive decision in a multi-ethnic country like Singapore. He firmly believed that English was the language of commerce and would help Singapore integrate into the global economy, creating a diverse and highly skilled workforce. When discussing Singapore's prosperity, one cannot forget its transport sector. Under Lee Kuan Yew's direction, the Port of Singapore developed strong partnerships with shipping companies, creating one of the world's densest maritime networks. Today, it is one of the largest container ports globally, handling 1/7 of the world's container shipments. Policy-wise, Singapore has an extensive network of free trade agreements with over 30 trading partners, enhancing market access. This encourages transportation companies to establish operations in Singapore. With such a favorable investment environment, companies know they can rely on Singapore to access global markets quickly. Despite varying external opinions, the world must acknowledge that Singapore is a clean and green land. Literally, it boasts a clean and green environment. Figuratively, it offers a civilized, disciplined society with one of the lowest corruption levels globally. Singapore, with its multi-ethnic and multi-religious population, maintains social stability, enabling the country to rapidly develop into an Asian dragon, achieving high living standards, longevity, and income. So what do you think about Singapore's rise? Let's discuss it in the comments below. For now, goodbye and see you next time.